Hello, hello. It looks like I'm live, so I thought I would come and do this Monday motivation at the time of broadcasting, which is all around the next 90 days. Now, as I broadcast live to you today, it happens to be 90 days before Christmas for those of you who celebrate Christmas, but that's not the reason why I'm reflecting on 90 days. So if you're watching this and you've never seen this before and you're thinking, who's that? Jenny, the visibility queen. I help business owners, I help companies, and I help individuals to be able to raise their professional profile so that they have a lot of satisfaction in their career, so that they can put themselves out there without being fearful, because sometimes being visible can feel slightly scary. But today I wanted to talk about 90 days for a couple of reasons, a number of reasons. So, first thing you'll notice, I am wearing from 2020 my marathon t-shirt, and it occurred to me just yesterday that even though I got a medal for running the marathon virtually, this is huge, by the way, this is the size of a coaster. I got this medal and this t-shirt. I've never actually worn the t-shirt. So why am I talking to you about medals and marathons and mindset? And I just want to say hi to Tristan. Good morning, Tristan. Thank you for saying hi. And I know that you're watching in from Barbados, sunny Barbados. So here's why I wanted to talk about 90 days, the next 90 days. As I prepare to do the marathon this weekend, there's like 5 days left or something like that. As I prepare, it doesn't just take me through the physical training that I've done, and I still don't feel like I've done enough. I don't know whether anyone resonates with that. It also takes me through the mental preparation. And I learned very recently there is such a thing called maranoia for marathon runners. So it's where you start to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm ill, maybe I won't be able to run, and it puts you to your mental paces. So I have to say, although I've been having kind of like, I've been really excited about the marathon and the potential of doing the marathon, and at the same time, I've been going through a bit of a mental roller coaster, feeling great and euphoric one minute, and then other times like sheer panic. And this spreads out into other areas of life and of business. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So today, I just wanted to really explore, and for all of us to explore, what we can achieve in 90 days. Now, when I first started talking about this, and I've got my notes here on my phone, but when I started thinking about this topic, I thought about a couple of different things. I thought this isn't just about business. Morning, Alan. Hello. It's not just about business. It's also about life as well, because no matter how much we might try and separate and put something in a business box and something in a life box, no matter how much we try to do that, one thing can often affect the other. So as I go through this whole kind of, I don't want to call it paranoia, but this marathon mindset, and I reflect on other areas of my life, my business life, what's worked well, what doesn't work well, what I might change, what I might keep, what I am emotionally attached to, what I need to look at from a more process point of view, the people, and all sorts of things like that. I thought I was kind of thinking these through as I've been running and walking a lot. I was thinking these through recently, and there were two specific times that I could think about which had a 90-day kind of attachment to it. So the first thing that I do want to say is that we, as people who might like to set goals, might like to achieve things, it's quite common for us to put a time frame around it, by the end of the week, by the end of the month, by the end of the year, this time next year, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 90-day plans. And I'm not here to tell you that one is right and one is wrong. What I'm here to explore with you, and let me know if you've done this before. Do you regularly set goals? And you might not even do that. And if you do you put a time scale to it? And if so, why? Why do we do that? Now, I've been exploring some of the goals that I've put in my life and time frames. And sometimes when I've attached a time frame to something, it has had the ability, and I've seen this again with people that I've worked with as well, companies that I've worked with, it has the ability to fill us with fear and and kind of render us stuck and unable to move or to do anything or to advance it in the way that we would perhaps like to. This is not the same for everybody, but I have seen this happen for some people. Something like the marathon, however, it's always been on that date, apart from the 40th marathon, which should have been in April and then got postponed to October. But at least in advance, we all knew the date. We knew what we had to work towards, what we had to achieve. And over the last week, I've been given my start times, which track I'm in. They've got like red, green and blue, which wave I'm in, so which wave of people get to go, what time to be in the pen ready to go out, what time to get there for, and then to wait until the start of the race. So what I've noticed over the years is that sometimes adding a time can actually feel restrictive to the person. Where I see this the most, I think, is when business owners will say, I want to make a certain amount of income this month. And if they don't hit that income stream, how demoralizing it can be with them. That said, I do remember working with some businesses, and one particular business a couple of years back, where they wanted to make a certain amount within a month. And by the time they got to the end of the month, they had smashed that. So for them, it actually felt really motivating, surprising and motivating. But for some of us, when we say we want to make X amount of money per month, or we want to do X amount of things for a certain time, when I hear a lot of my clients say, I want to get this number of speaking gigs this month or this week, and then it puts a kind of pressure on them that sometimes has them kind of want to backtrack. I was also thinking about in 2008, when I was made redundant, or I should say my position was made redundant. And in that instance, we were given a 90-day consultation period. And with that, I remember that time frame being quite helpful. It let us know when the last day of official work was. It let us know what we had to plan. It let us know how much time we had to do certain things, whether it's look for a new job or something else. It gave us like a framework, some parameters to work with. So whilst it was sad, and at that particular time, my job was to support my team members and support the board and the leadership team in kind of navigating that. It wasn't the first time I'd been through a redundancy, so I feel like I'd had some practice in place. But that was my job to do that. And I think sometimes when we give ourselves a timeline, such as the next 90 days, it helps us to figure out what needs to be put in place by when, what needs to be done first, and all of those sorts of things. So, it's a really important thing to have. 90 days, as I said at the beginning of this, from now is Christmas for those who celebrate Christmas. But it might not be to do something for Christmas. It might be a mark in the sand where you say to yourself, between now and then, this is what I'd like to do. And if you're watching this on Facebook, in the Vibes Tribe, or on my Facebook page, The Queen of Being Seen, you'll be able to see Alan's comment, I think, depending on where he's watching it from. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you won't be able to see it. He's kind of making fun of the He wants his timeline is the end of his life, but he doesn't know when that will be. But actually, that propels a lot of people. I've coached thousands of people over the years now, and with those, sometimes when people have been stuck in something they've wanted to make a change, especially in their personal life, the thought of, if this was my last 7 days on the planet, what would I do, has actually been the thing to propel them. And although there's no such thing that's as sure as death and taxes, we all know that there will be a time when we leave the planet. We don't know when that is, and unfortunately, as many of you may have done, people have left the planet a lot sooner than we maybe intended, or they intended to, or thought they would be here. So whilst I get that sentiment, it's important to think about some of the things that you would like to do. So as I say, today is around, today's kind of mindset motivations around the next 90 days. It puts a nice frame into what you want to do. So for example, today I'm doing a mixture of business development, a mixture of going out for a shorter run, and a couple of other things in my business and with my clients. So what I'm looking at is, well, like, where do I want to be kind of like headed towards by that 90 days, and what needs to happen now to have that to happen. So, a lot of the time we, there are things that we can do now that could affect what we do or what we see in 90 days time, but we don't know for sure. So we have to take a leap of faith. We have to get really clear with ourselves, really focused, have a look at, is what I'm doing now going to at least, have some sort of input on something that I'm doing later on? Or, is this helping me get towards the thing that I want to get towards, regardless of the time frame that you put through it? So some of the things that I'm doing today will come to fruition or be, I guess I want to say be seen, but what do I mean by that? Will be beneficial for the next few weeks. And some of them, it's like putting irons in the fire, so that in 90 days, I should be able to see some sort of results of that. Now, one of the things that I think is really important is, as we're taking the actions now, because we can't predict the future, but we can imagine it, and we can dream it, and we can vision it, or we can intend it, we can strategize around it. What we can do now is have a very clear vision, a very clear view as to what we would like to achieve at, by that particular time point. I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about happiness. And I think happiness is one of the kind of least desired goals in a way. It's something that everyone wants, and it's not actually a goal. It's not a destination. It's kind of like a way of life. So, if somebody says to me, my goal is that, I really want to be happier, I would always say to them as a coach, well, what can you do right now? What can you do today to be happier? Does it mean putting yourself in a different environment? Does it mean, surrounding yourself with certain people? Does it mean going off and doing your own thing? Does it mean something else? So have a look today, and here's how I'd love you to be motivated for whatever has gone on in your life. And I've just seen your comment, Alan, so I'm sorry to hear about that. What is going on in your life that you can maybe have a look at rejigging, refocusing, starting, stopping, pausing over the next 90 days, and just think of one action that would take you like not much time at all today that can have you move forward to that. For some of my clients, it's just a case of they go on to Google and search for something, so that they can see what it is. Even like today, I found out or realized about today because I was looking at a 90-day plan. And when I put into Google to see what the date was. Of course, it's the 25th of December. And then I was like, yes, of course. This gives me a nice kind of window to the end of the year, which a little bit more than 90 days. But it gives me a nice window to the end of the year. And I do remember running a mini course on this. It's in my archive somewhere. On a 90-day plan, which was really helpful for a lot of people to help them look at what they wanted to do. You know, as a result of that, there was somebody that went on to study for something they'd wanted to study for a long time, and they have since passed it. All of that started with a thought, and not necessarily being attached to a specific time frame. There was somebody else who went on, they were balancing, I think, 3 or 4 businesses, and they ended up deciding to focus on 2 of those businesses. You know, other things that have happened, you know, I think back to when I taught the original iteration of the 90-day, and gosh, you know, at that point, I remember I was still watching people run the marathon on TV, fascinated. I've been doing this since I was a child, and as a non-runner thinking, that seems such an impossible feat. I would like to try that. And then eventually I got sick of hearing the sound of my own voice. And I decided 2019, as I literally sobbed as people were running in front of me for the marathon, I thought, I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to enter the ballot and see what happens. So when I got news later on in 2019 that I was going to be running not just the 2020 marathon, but the 40th one, it felt like a really good sign. So then, because of the pandemic, they decided to run a virtual marathon. And because of that, somewhere in sunny Staffordshire, I was plodding or pounding the pavement. Not only did I finish, I've got the evidence of that in my medal and my T-shirt, but I found myself thinking, I really want the experience to at least go through and run the marathon on the London course. So I was able to defer my place, and I eventually deferred it to this year. So for those of you that are saying, how can we support you, Jenny? Yes, I'm taking sponsorships, but if that feels like a stretch too much, you know, your encouragement, your love, your good vibes, your thoughts, your you can do this will be appreciated. And if you come to London, oh my gosh, if you are coming to London and you're going to be watching any part of the marathon, even if you're kind of supporting other people, please let me know. I'd love the excuse to stop and give you a hug, and for you to say, come on, Jenny, keep going. So, yeah, I love what you said there, Alan, so much so I'm going to show it. So meet Alan, who says, I think regular short-term goals are essential and keeps you moving forward. And this is so true, especially when times get tough. You know, when we don't feel like doing it, where things feel too difficult, where it all feels too much. It's a really great way to, you know, to move forward. So today I invite you to think about, you know, what are you planning for? You know, what are you planning for in the not too distant future, maybe in your next 90 days? What could you do today that would make a difference to that? If you're in the Visibility Vibes Tribe Facebook group, then do share it in there. I really love it when you share with each other and you know, you talk about those things in there. And you know, if you're on my page, the Queen of Being Seen page, by all means, share in there. And if you're watching on YouTube, please, you know, feel free to type in the comments below. I do respond to every single comment, and I do love reading what you share. So that's it for today. What will you do in your next 90 days? What will you do, you know, as a regular short-term goal, as Alan was talking about? What perhaps needs to change? What do you need to do differently? Can't wait to hear from you. I'll see you around 11:15 tomorrow UK time for the Tuesday tip, and I might cover some talking tips as I've been booked to speak a lot. So take care. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your interaction. See you soon. Bye for now.